Welcome to Sad Girls in Anime. Kiki here to bring you part 2 of Violet Evergarden. Usually Kaneki would be here with the intro too, however she needed the day off today. So let me introduce you to an additional host. Jiji, do you want to say hi to everyone? Oh yes, he's such a cute boy. If you didn't catch on, Jiji is my real life black cat. I know, sorry we didn't introduce him earlier than this. Jiji watches a lot of my animes with me, so he will be the first to tell you that a few mistakes were made in this episode. Right, Jiji? Please forgive us. If he was here during the initial recording, he would have caught on to that. But without further ado, myself Kiki, Kaneki, and Jiji hope you enjoy. Straight away, spoilers. This is a spoilers one.
Oh yeah, thorough spoilers here.
Yeah, because we're gonna get into it. There's just kind of no other way to cover it. Especially if you've watched this, you will understand. Episode 7 of Violet Evergarden. What else could be said about, this is cinema. This is a cinematic masterpiece.
Yes.
This is an important piece of media that must continue to live on and be recorded through history.
Oh, absolutely.
I had made the comment before on how there's so many points of animation where it's just like animators crack knuckles, crack back, flames, as this is being created and curated. But this is the prime example of this, is this episode.
Creativity. In our opinions, at least.
Yeah. Well, I definitely invite people to disagree with me. It's just, I think if I were ever put into a situation where people were laughing at me and being like, oh, so you cry over anime? Those Japanese cartoon type of things? When I talk about my interest and thoughts, I'd be like, well, I can make you cry. Just give me 15 or so minutes in Netflix.
Yeah. And I'll get you.
I'll get you.
I'll get you.
I can make you cry if you really want to play this game. This is what I would choose.
Yeah, this is one of them. I think it really depends on each individual person and how they can relate to it. So that's why I'm saying, in our opinion, this one hits the hardest.
Or episode 10.
Episode 10's another really good one.
Yeah.
And again, because everyone can relate to them differently. So I don't know, maybe for you guys listening, it's a different episode that will hit you the hardest because you relate to it in a different way.
Exactly.
But for us, it's 7 and 10.
yeah. These are episodes I have literally just watched these to cry because I needed to cry. I felt like
that
crying.
Is sad girl.
That is sad girl.
That is sad girl.
Yeah.
That is, to me, that is sad girl. It's like, okay, I need to cry. I have such a difficult time crying. It's so difficult for me to cry over my own stuff in my own life. That's a whole separate problem. I'm in therapy for it and all that. And one of the things is okay, well, I can watch these things that are really sad and I can cry over those things just fine.
Yeah.
So, okay, if I need to cry, I'm just gonna go watch this episode of Violet Evergarden.
And this will be my release.
And that is how I will get myself to cry. Which sounds so ridiculous out loud, but that's my system. That's how it works.
It's just, if you've experienced this, you've experienced this. This is melodramatic of me, but you would be a monster not to cry at these episodes.
Yes. No, or at least get a little emotional, you know?
Yeah, just a little welled up. Just walk out of the room before the tear actually falls. At the very least. They hit your heart so hard. And to just start with it, episode 7, sorry, that's our paper. Just, again, going into kind of trigger warnings. There's going to be some ASMR things. I'm going to be shocked with myself if I don't cry and well up. We have a literal tissue box between us.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going through my papers.
ASMR.
Yeah. It's not intentional. I have my papers that I'm going to be kind of reading through because we got close to just writing down the whole episode and reading that to you. But that would just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that I will go into and want to properly quote, especially with the dubbing.
Yes.
There are some moments in this series where the dub and sub don't quite match each other.
Yeah, I honestly, overall in the show, I preferred the sub to the dub more because I feel like a lot of the words were not perfectly translatable into the dub. Like a lot of the way that Violet Evergarden says things in the sub versus the dub. In the sub, she comes across a lot more militaristic, a lot more cold, a lot more blunt.
Yes.
But in the dub, to match the animation, they have to change a few words here and there.
Yes.
And it can change the little bit of the vibe of the character. The dub is still fantastic.
Yes.
Very well done. Loved it. But just for me being like a little nitpicky on some things, I do think the sub is a little better. Just in my opinion here.
Definitely fair. And I see that for the overall story and to be true to the character of Violet. 100% see that.
Yeah.
I will say, in my experience of this, though, and part of why I did go with the dub, I'm not trying to defend myself for anything. I do want to explain.
It's your perspective, yeah.
There are certain ways that the wording hits that just, it punches me in my heart.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. So that is part of why. And I've made notes to myself, too, where that is the case versus where it's not, too, in this episode.
All right.
So without a further ado,
let's do it.
Let's start this off. So we actually start by a play. Basically, you see the outside of a theater, and kind of on the marquee about what the play is, about the writer of the play, you see a little bit of it. And then this cuts into, we are back at the post office with, I believe it's pretty much all the dolls. Yeah, it's all the dolls are there.
Yeah,
So
I believe so.
There's Erica, Erica is, we haven't quite gotten into her yet. Very cute, very kind of meek, almost light, almost like strawberry blonde-ish hair, more brown though.
Yeah.
But close. She wears just like this cute little, almost kind of smocky dress with big buttons. And it is
cute.
Very obvious that she is the artistic of the dolls. Like, she's very into reading, writing. She takes in more emotional types of media. And the reason why this is prevalent is Violet has started to gain some popularity after the love letters between the Princess Charlotte and Prince Damien. And so she has been hired on to write for this playwright that Erica really loves. And she's like, oh, I'm so jealous you get to write for him. And this is why I took notes. His name is Oscar Webster. So Erica is like, I'm so excited for you. I'm so jealous. I would love to write for Oscar Webster.
What a dictionary name.
Yes, very much. I mean, pretty much a dictionary.
Webster Dictionary.
Webster Dictionary. This guy writes. It's in his name.
Yeah.
Oh. Erica is so excited for Violet. They're talking about the current play that he wrote, and that I believe it was like Erica, Iris, Benedict, and Catalina had gone and seen, but Violet didn't go see it. Instead, she just read the play. I want to say it was called The Red Devil. That I didn't write. Not as important. Anyway. I'm sorry. I can tell I'm doing the avoiding thing. We're going to get through this, everyone.
We're going to do it.
We're going to do this. But yeah, so we get into this episode. That is our setup. And then we get to Violet traveling to her destination. And this is when you know in your heart that something special is going to happen. This is when the song A Voice in My Heart comes in. It comes in several times throughout the series. It's, of course, not the theme, which is the quintessential song, but A Voice in My Heart is the song that is constantly popping up throughout. And it's such a good song. Like, I love this music. It has such breath. It gives you the vibe. And in this moment, as she is traveling to It's this little cabin. Well, not little cabin, definitely more mid-size. It's a summer estate, if you will, near a pond. And just, a voice in my heart just hits in this moment. You can tell something special is going to happen. You have this beautifully composed scenery of this pond that this cabin is looking out to. And it's around fall. The leaves are falling onto the water.
Oh,
the animation of the water. Again, people were drafting this up and there was flames in the background.
Yes.
This is the pinnacle and height of animation here. And the leaves in the water. You also see a bench swing. And just, again, as I harped on earlier, just this is steps away from a photo. This is step away from being actual film.
This should be a postcard type.
It is so detailed and realistic. And so Violet is coming up to this cabin. It's set up that she's going to be writing in place for this playwright. And we get to his cabin and see him, and he's a bit scrubby.
Yeah, he's seen better days.
He's a bit, his hair's a little bit, like you can tell his facial hair's grown out a bit. He's kind of in a robe type of getup. And he's almost at first like, who is at my door?
Yeah, kind of standoffish.
And then he answers the door, and he's very shocked to see Violet.
This very dull, pretty girl.
Yeah. And it's like he remembers what she's here for, but it really takes him off guard of how striking, of course, Violet looks. We get into this, but also he makes the comment internally to himself. And again, as we talked about, like, people kind of introduce Violet, and part of his introduction of this episode is she has the same color of hair as the girl that I'm missing. And so it begins this shroud of, okay, there's something going on here. It's very quick and evident that he is not in a good mental state. He is drinking. And not taking care of himself. Violet states why she is here. She's the doll that's sent to write. He makes a comment, well, I didn't expect such a child. And she said, well, we can find someone else if I'm not satisfactory to you. Just
in her very matter-of-fact, blunt way.
Very matter-of-fact. And he's like, no, if you can write, it's fine. And it's this whole thing. It's like, well, we can write down here. There's a study, but it's a mess. But we'll just write down here. And he goes to pour himself a drink. And Violet stops him. And is just like, I'm going to ask that you refrain from alcohol as it will hinder the writing process. And he's like, well, I need to drink to write. And she's like, I'm going to have to ask you not to.
Yeah.
And literally makes the comment to him, like, why are you being so difficult? Because he's pushing back.
Yeah, and she's like, bro, I'm trying to do my job here.
Just right off the bat, she is asserting, like, I am here to do a job. And also in regard, here's my writings. Violet, right off the bat, asks Oscar not to drink and asserts she is not a mate for him.
Yes.
Because he gets frustrated. It's a thing with alcoholism. You get tired and grumpy because you are not taking care of your body and your body is mad at you. And he's taking that out on poor Violet because he's probably having a bit of a withdrawal. And he's just out.
Yeah.
At a certain, he's like, well, if we're not gonna write today anyway, because I've been drinking, we'll do it tomorrow. Or no, what actually happens is they need paper. They need printing paper for the typewriter. And he's like, well, it's down at the shop. I've been drinking anyway, so go get the paper and we'll write tomorrow. Also, I want carbonara.
Yeah, gives her all the ingredients.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not your maid.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we need to eat dinner or something like that.
He's just grumpy alcoholic. That's just what, and she's like, why does he have to be so difficult? That's what she says to herself. She makes her little way down to the shop because she does need paper.
Yeah.
And she has her carbonara ingredients. And the shop owner.
Oh, he's so sweet.
He's so sweet. She's obviously looking at everything perplexed. And he was like, is there something wrong? And she's like, well, I don't know how to go about making this.
And he's so sweet. He wrote down the instructions for her and everything. And then we see her in the kitchen trying to crack some eggs.
Yeah.
It's clear she has never done this before.
Yeah. If you don't know what carbonara is, it is an Italian pasta dish. I mean, as we would know it traditionally, spaghetti, but there's a bunch of people screaming at me right now that it's a different type of noodle. That's your noodle base, and then you make a egg yolk sauce with Parmesan, black pepper, and then traditionally you will have some sort of fatty pork, such as a bacon or pork belly that is served on top of it. So it's a very rich, dense.
Yeah, it's delicious.
So good. Yeah. So good.
But definitely a lot to take on for a first-time cooker.
Yeah, no. You need some experience. You at least need to know how to separate an egg.
Yeah.
And Violet has metallic arms.
This is a little difficult.
Just a delicacy we have been shown time and time again is not...
It's not her forte.
Not her forte. So she's trying. Oscar eventually wakes up. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm trying my hand at cooking. Or I thought I tried my hand at cooking. Yeah, basically that. And kind of helps her through the rest of it. And it is such a cute scene. Post him just being so drunk and grumpy. Mm-hmm. And I have in my notes too here. Because it's Violet's first carbonara. Mm-hmm. The pasta's not cooked through. The sauce is probably split a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's just, Oscar goes to eat it. He picks it up with the whole fork because it's that together. And you can tell from, again, the sound design, there's a little crunch there. And he's like, it's actually not bad for your first try. And two, it's just like, Oscar, also it's not bad because all of that starch not being fully cooked hitting to your stomach is going to soak up all that alcohol.
That's true.
So this is probably the better option for you. You
true.
Deserved this, and this is the best outcome.
Yeah.
So this whole thing happens. They have this cute moment, and he's asking her, too, about sitting down to eat with him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, I've eat minimally. I will eat some at another time. Violet, and this is kind of a consistent thing, she doesn't eat when other people are eating, and it seems to be a defense mechanism.
It's a vulnerability thing.
And she also eats very, very minimally. Mm-hmm. She does not eat a lot.
Which makes sense, because she's tiny. Yeah. She's a tiny little thing.
And also, she has been trained to have her body keep on going in the most strenuous of times. She cannot take a break. Mm-hmm. So this is being exhibited, and you start to get with Oscar this bit of loneliness because there's the chair across from him, but Violet's not sitting in that chair. She's standing above the table, at the table.
Yeah.
While he's eating. At this point, they kind of take it in for the night. Again, they're going to have to write in the morning because Oscar is drunk. Oscar gets up the next morning, or I think it might be later that night. No, yeah, it's up the next morning or later that night. Mm-hmm. He goes to get another drink, and Violet has effectively hit all of the alcohol.
Which I love her.
Yes, yeah. And she is like, it is not healthy to drink in excess.
Very matter-of-factly.
Yeah, very matter-of-factly being like, I'm not going to write for you if you're drinking. Mm-hmm. She asserts herself well. We love Violet for that. Violet has good boundaries.
Yes, good for her.
Yes. But no, hides it all. And then we do see that Oscar is a fantastic writer. Mm-hmm. You can tell, too, that there's been this aspect of he needs a ghostwriter because he's not able to write himself because he's been in this endless cycle of alcoholism. Mm-hmm. So it's immediate the next day when Violet is like, okay, I'm going to make you do your job so I can do my job.
Yep.
And it becomes the most touching thing because you see that this man is such a great writer.
Yes.
He's so prolific of a writer.
Yeah, he has a very big name in this world.
Mm-hmm.
He's written he wrote that play in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
a lot of his other works are very well known.
Yeah. He is a famous, again, Erica is just like, I would love to write for him. Mm-hmm. And here's where you really see this too and start to understand it is Violet is writing out what he is saying, typing it and writing it as it needs to be with this stage play direction of it, and it's so touching. So she's writing it out, and then they kind of hit a break point of writing what the stage direction's going to be, and Violet was like, okay, so the character is able to pass this feat that they're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes like, yes. Yeah, and she was like, well, how is this going to actually look? Like, how is the character going to slay this creature? Like, type of thing of what's going on there. And he explains like, oh, well, or no, it's put out a fire. It's like, put out a fire.
How are they going to put out the
fire? And he's like, oh, well, you put out blue ribbon, and it looks like water. Mm-hmm. Taking out the fire. And she's like, oh, so the character is going to be able to put out the fire and then get back to their father. And he's like, well, yes. And he's explaining this, and it catches him off guard, obviously. And he's like, well, do you like it? And Violet starts to explain. She's like, well, I don't know how to fully explain it, but even though I wasn't there and I haven't seen this, I find myself feeling the same things that this character is feeling. I find myself feeling happy, and I find myself feeling sad. And Oscar is so excited, and he's so glad. He's like, well, I'm so glad to hear that. This is the first time I've written a play for children before. But what he doesn't realize, he has created the first time that Violet has empathized with a fictional character.
Which is a huge moment.
It's such a huge moment. Like, the first time watching this, it didn't hit me. But second, third, fourth, all the other times, this moment hits me so hard now. It's just, this is the first time that Violet is experiencing empathy. And the person she's experienced it towards is not real. So that just shows you how prolific a writer that
how
this
powerful
is.
Just words can be.
Yeah, and her really, she's trying to find what I love you means. And this is obviously getting her closer to that. Mm-hmm. And this man does not fully realize that. And so, yeah, just going further into it, they're getting it written. Violet is obviously very excited about the writing of this play. She's loving the story going on. And as they're going along, of course, you take a break in in writing and all of that. And they're kind of taking a break outside. And Violet comes out with a light blue with white ruffle parasol.
Very lacy, very girly parasol.
Yeah, very much so. It's just such the design.
I want one of those.
Just, it was so well thought out. Mm-hmm. She comes out with this parasol as they're taking this break. And she's like, what is this? And Oscar tells her, oh, it's a parasol. And she's like, oh, it's beautiful. And Oscar is having a moment.
He's clearly emotional about it.
He steps away from I believe he goes inside for something.
Yep, and he goes upstairs to his room.
Yes. And then he looks out his window and he sees Violet holding the parasol. And it triggers something in Oscar. And you see this flashback of a young girl holding the parasol. It just, everything starts to hit. It hits him very hard. You can tell, okay, there's something really going on here. And he goes storming out and he smacks the parasol out of Violet's hand. And he's like, stop it. He is going through some emotional trauma here. It's very obvious. He's like, stop that. Like, stop that right now. And he is incredibly angry. He cannot handle this situation. He's effectively being like, you need to leave now. And he's walking away, and Violet is getting so upset because she doesn't want to stop writing about the story.
Right, because she's connected to it now.
Which is about a girl named Olivia who is separated from her father and has to cross the spirit world, basically, to get back to her father. And Violet is saying, if we stop writing now, Olivia's story won't be finished. Olivia won't get back to her father. And it's just effectively making him more angry. And this is where I do write, just, again, the difference of the subtitle versus the dub. Which in the sub, it's, is there something that you're hiding? In the dub, it's, is there something you're hiding inside your heart? And Oscar stops. And this is when we cue the music. This episode specifically. I know that there is so much great music throughout this whole soundtrack is fantastic, but this I just have to focus on a little bit more. But Never Coming Back starts playing, and it is the most beautiful melody. And this is when Oscar is explaining that his wife died of a rare, mysterious illness. His daughter, Olive, is dying from this same illness. Or no, I apologize, I got that backward. Olive, I believe, is the character in the play.
And Olivia
is the daughter. Yes. So sorry. Anyway, he's explaining of his daughter dying of this disease and getting to the point with the doctors where she was in the hospital and saying, this is enough. I'm going to take her up to the family cabin where she's always so happy and had the best times. Because part of this too is it's by this pond, and her two favorite things are the parasol and water birds. And so he's effectively explaining this to Violet, opening up, sharing of how he lost his daughter. So that's what this play is. And it breaks Violet. This is, I believe, the first time we see Violet actually cry.
I think so.
In this series. And she goes in this monologue of just like losing someone that you love so much and that is so close to you, having to come to terms with never seeing them again. I never knew that it was so painful. And so that moment happens. Effectively, this is obviously a point of healing for Oscar because he's not been coping with the fact that his daughter has died.
He hasn't confronted it at all.
No.
And now this is probably the first time he's actually talking about it.
Yeah, and being honest on his feelings, and that it was too much for him to see her with the parasol, and he apologizes, and Violet in sad girl fashion says, no, I should be the one apologizing. You're the one that's really hurting right now. And he promises her, we're gonna finish the play. We're going to get Olivia back
Olive.
to her, or Olive.
Whoever.
Now, I'm
know
sorry,
which one it
I
is now.
forget. Well, here's the thing. I wrote Olivia at first. So I think Olivia is the play and then Olive. But
Is
I
the
feel
daughter.
like I would have done a thing for myself, though, where I accidentally did that wrong. Olive. So Olive is the play character. Olivia is the daughter.
Oh, okay, that sounds correct
Yeah,
to me.
okay, I got that correct. Okay. So yeah, so Olive is who the story is about. Olivia is Oscar's daughter, who the story is about, because he needs to get back to her father. Anyway, so Oscar makes this promise to Violet. Oh, we're gonna finish the story. Olive's finished. Like, story will be finished. She will reunite with her father, and Violet is so happy to hear this. We cue into the next day. They're writing the play, finishing this up, and they're outside, out in nature writing, and again, it's just so beautiful.
It is stunning.
This is one of the most visually stunning things ever. And looking out onto this pond, and he's working towards the ending, and he's working towards, again, it's just he's there, but he needs that last little push. And part of the thing in this story is that Olive has a boat that she travels with in order to work with these spirits to get back to her father. But she loses the boat along the way. And so Violet brings this up. Well, Olive doesn't have her boat anymore. How is she going to get back to her father? It's not like she can fly.
Yeah.
Or no, she brings up, like, if only she could fly.
Right.
And he goes, but she can. And Violet's like, what? And he's like, but no, she can. And part of the flashback before that we have with Oscar when he initially sees Violet with the parasol is you see who we now know as Olivia with the parasol talking about how jealous she is of the water birds to be able just to fly over the lake, fly over the pond, and that she wants to do it someday. And Dad Fashion Oscar's like, well, how are you going to do that? And she's like, well, I'll walk across the leaves using the parasol. I'll show you one day, Daddy. And so that inspires for Oscar to now say no, but she can fly. And he says, okay, so write in wind spirit. Okay, preparing myself. I do have it written down.
It's okay.
We're gonna get through this. But anyway, so he writes in, okay, so write in wind spirit. Take this, open your parasol. That parasol will be your wings. Step on the ocean's wave, the river's rocks, and the fallen leaves on the lake to get back. And so he's kind of getting through this bit of just like, okay, this is what she's going to do. She's going to take the parasol, fly across the lake, step on the leaves, like Olivia said. And then he hits the writer's block, which Violet kind of calls him out for. He's like, sir, do you have writer's block again?
He's just like, bro.
And he's like struggling, like, oh, what is she going to say to him when she sees her father again? And he's like, I'm home. No, that's not right.
Hello, father. No, that's not right either.
Yeah, and Violet, it irritates him that Violet is like, do you have writer's block again? And he's like, no, I need to visualize it. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
We're
okay.
going through it. We're getting through it.
It's okay. It's okay.
He's like, I need to visualize it. And Violet's like, okay, how can you do that? Like, how can I help? And he's definitely being a bit facetious in this moment. Because he's like, well, I need to visualize it. Her walking across the lake. So it's just basically like, how can I help? And he's like, well, take the parasol and walk across the lake so I can visualize it. Across the leaves if you can.
Yeah.
And, well, she asked, like, yeah, how am I supposed to do that? He's like, across the leaves if you can.
But he's like joking.
Yeah.
But Violet, being Violet, takes it literally.
Copy that is basically...
Yep.
She takes it literally. And it takes Oscar a beat or two, and then he realizes what she has just said, and he's like, well, no, what are you doing? By the time he realizes she's across this little section of the lake already, and he doesn't know what to do. Oscar doesn't know what to do.
He's just kind of standing there like, what?
Again, this is Violet. He did not realize this is going to happen. And this is when Across the Violet Sky starts playing. Beautiful song. Just, I've sometimes just listened to this song to cry to, and for crying in general too. It's just so beautifully done, so cute, and sad girl Evan Call. Why are you so good at this? I think of the song, and it just Across the Violet Sky starts playing. Oscar is frozen into place. He does not know what to do. And then Violet backs up. She kind of braces. She starts running so hard. And then she launches herself into the air. And when I say one of the most visually stunning things I've ever seen, I'm talking like comparing to shots of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Launches herself into the air, has the parasol, is drifting down, coming onto the water, and just, again, the animation, the way that the water is animated, it looks so real. And as she's taking this order to walk across the waves on the fallen leaves if she can, she's coming down, her boot hits, her heel hits into this water. It splashes up.
The tiniest bit, just shoop.
Starting. And effectively, Oscar has Olive's life flash before his eyes. And you hear the sound bit of Daddy. And it's all of these beautiful moments. It's her whole life before his eyes. And him internally talking about how I wish I could have heard you say that 1,000 more times. How I wish you were here. How I wish you could be alive. And then we cut to Violet literally beginning to walk across the leaves. It's so visually stunning. The music, the animation, the sound design of the bit of splash of water, and the way it comes in. She has done it. She's walked across the leaves. And then you hear the crash of her in the water because you can't walk across leaves across the lake.
Not the whole way, at
Not
least.
the whole way. And she's almost disappointed in herself because she's like, did you see? I almost made it. I made it 3 whole steps. And this is when Violet looks up. And she doesn't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Oscar is crying.
In tears.
Streams down his face. And Violet's like, sir, are you okay? Are you ill?
Of course, that's her first question.
And this is the moment, effectively, where Violet has broken Oscar and us as the viewer.
At this point, I was in tears. I was just like, oh goodness. It's just so beautifully well done.
I can't do it justice, I'm sorry. I'm trying, but...
The animation, and then the storyline and everything just culminated in that beautiful moment.
Like, they get it perfectly to where, of course, her hands are in the water. Like, she's had to kind of catch herself at the edge of this lake. And, like, just like the displacement of water, seeing the way that the water moves, it is perfect. It is practically a photograph.
It is stunning.
And just the compilation of all of it. Again, the music, the animation, the storyline, the voice acting, both for the sub and the dub, because it hits hard. And so, yes, effectively, Violet has broken Oscar and us as the viewer. But it brings a relief as well. Because now we have the end of our play. They're able to finish the play, and Violet is so satisfied with that. And as they're parting, Oscar gives her the parasol. And even a little bit before this too, because this whole moment happens and Oscar says, I didn't believe in a god, but if there is one, it would be you, towards Violet. And leading into, he's giving her this parasol because effectively she has brought Olive back to life for a day. It doesn't matter that these are animated fictional characters. It just,
they will make you cry.
This is based, like, in this type of story, it can't not be based off of things that have really, like, this can happen to people.
I think it's an excellent depiction of grief and what it can look like in people. And I mean, both of us having had a very intimate view of how grief can show up in different people, and having dealt with grief ourselves, it can look like alcoholism, it can look like addiction, it can look like anger directed at people who have nothing to do with what happened. And then also seeing the healing that can come with just little things.
Just the little... Violet's just... She's just taking an order.
She's just doing her job.
She's just being literal. And she doesn't even realize what she's done. That's... And this is when she realizes what she has done. Having to really ponder and think over for... Because, she brought Olivia back to life for a day. She lived the dream. Like,
yeah, she brought her one day.
She brought her one day. And just... there it goes.
There it goes.
There,
it's the first tissue, guys.
Yep, the first tissue. And so, we go into that. And then I'll pass it off to you now, Kaneki, for Violet. What happens when she realizes that she has lived someone's one day?
Yes. Oh, gosh. For me, this whole episode was emotional, just having, seen grief with so many people and with myself. And then you think you're home free. They finish up everything with Oscar and all of that. She gets a little parasol, and you think, okay, here's the conclusion. No, it keeps going.
Yep.
And it gives you another whammy. For me, it's the conclusion of this episode that really hit me pretty hard, pretty deeply. But basically, Violet's on her way back, and she is staying in like an inn, or was she on a boat? I don't remember.
A boat.
She was on a boat. That's what it was. She was on right, I remember the little round window. Why do windows always have to be round on like boats?
I don't know.
I don't understand that. Why can't... Anyways, sorry, I'm procrastinating.
No, you're good. We're both doing it.
But she's trying to go to sleep. She can't sleep because she's thinking about everything that has happened. And she starts to have this realization of how many other people's one days have I taken.
Yeah, the one day that's echoing through her head.
Like, well, yes, I gave Olivia her one day, but what about all of the other people's? There's so much blood on her hands, and she is just now realizing that she's covered in it. And back in the very, very first episode, which we forgot to mention, Hodgins mentions to Violet that you are on fire.
Yeah.
And Violet kind of looks at him confused, and she looks at herself. She's like, no, I'm not.
I'm not on fire.
I'm not on fire. And he goes, no,
you
are on fire, Violet. And one day you'll understand what I mean. And then Violet, in this moment, is just in this bed, kind of crying to herself, one day echoing through her head, like, how many people's one days have I taken? Do I even deserve to continue living when I've taken so many one days away from people? And then she has this realization. it flashes back to the first episode where she is saying, I'm not on fire.
I'm not burning.
I'm not burning. And then she echoes back, I am. And it goes back, I'm not burning. I am.
I am burning.
That one hits me. Because it's her just completely realizing, yes, I am on fire. I am burning. And also props to the voice acting, both in the dub and the sub in this scene. Because her echoing back the I am is just so visceral, and you can hear just the absolute pain.
It's a scream.
It's a scream of her, no, I am burning.
I am on fire. Yeah. She's realizing metaphorical language, which is just so powerful.
Mm-hmm. She's had a lot of big breakthroughs in this episode of just empathy with a fictional character, metaphorical language, and learning grief and the loss of someone, which at this point she still believes that her major is alive.
Mm-hmm.
She has not been told otherwise.
Yeah.
And it was the end of this episode, correct, when she returns. Yep. She hears news about that being not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Storms into Hodgins' office and she confronts him. And he comes clean. He's like, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to just destroy you in that way.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when he saw her in that hospital, she was just this girl.
Mm-hmm.
Frail little thing, covered in bandages. Who would want to tell that person, the one person that loved you in this world is now dead?
Not just dead, but missing in action.
Missing in action, yeah.
AKA, he did.
He did. Yeah. And, Violet, she is not accepting this. She's no, it's not true. It's not, he's missing in action, which means he can still be alive.
Yeah.
This isn't true. And she runs off.
And then we get into episode 8. Ugh. So Violet has a breakdown over that, a mental breakdown. And this is when we get Violet's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So we start out episode 8 with what I'm writing with, and I believe this might have actually been part of the episode name. Hey You.
I don't remember.
Is the sound bit that kind of plays initially in the beginning of episode 8. This is where Violet is now essentially in a mental breakdown. We are learning more about Violet. And what we get presented here is Major Gilbert's Darth, I want to say, again, there were multiple ways that I heard different characters say the name. But anyway, Major Gilbert's older brother is presenting to Major Gilbert some type of item.
Mm-hmm.
What was revealed, and as we kind of know, is it is Violet herself. She is presented as a weapon of war. She is an orphan that has been specifically trained as a tool for killing. And he introduces Violet, which is why I say the hey you is, she is an object to him. He is like, you can call her whatever you want. Like, she's a tool. I've just been addressing her as hey you.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of throws her to the ground, and Gilbert picks her up and is like, you can't say that to, like, you can't treat a child like that.
Mm-hmm.
And his older brother's like, she's no child. And again, we get into Violet's. Yeah, this is when we get into her backstory, and we see a little bit of, as we were talking about in the beginning episode, is Lieutenant Hodgins, there is some type of deal that we know he has made with Gilbert. This is where we see it. Is before the final battle that Major Gilbert is declared missing in action, post the battle, during the battle, and post that battle, there is an exchange about, we are hoping that this is going to be the last battle of this war. If we succeed here, then we can effectively resolve. go towards our own resolution and or revolution of types. And then we can talk about everything post-war. Like, we'll be done. And part of this is, again, you're seeing that Violet is incredibly attached to Gilbert. She is consistently by his side.
Well, he's the first person who has shown kindness to her. Humanity, even.
Yes.
Who treats her as an actual human being rather than a war dog.
Yes.
Inhuman, you know.
And it's evident. And it's evident that Violet does see herself as a bit of a war dog. Because we see this conversation between... They went to the same academy together. Yes, they went to the same academy, military academy together. Major Gilbert and then Lieutenant Colonel Hodgins. And so they're talking, reminiscing. He does something kind of playful and jovial towards Gilbert, and Violet starts to step in and is going to defend Gilbert, and Gilbert has to be like, no.
Like, this is just
like,
playing.
This is a friend. He's just being jovial. Like, explain that, and she's at ease after that. And they are talking about kind of who Violet is, what her future's going to be, and Lieutenant Hodges offers Gilbert, being like, hey, I'm going to start a company after the war. Do you want a job? And he's like, no, I'm not going to work under you. And he's like, well, maybe I'll hire Violet. And he's like, actually, that's a good idea. So he goes off to effectively make this sort of agreement that if anything happens, will you take on Violet, take her to the Evergarden estate? Will you have her work for you? Because if I'm not around,
who's going to take
care of her? It is very much that. So yeah, that's where we see all that. And also kind of the fact that Violet cannot imagine living without Gilbert. We get a little bit into that here. It gets deeper on into later episodes, but we start to see that. She literally cannot imagine a life without taking his orders. Like, he is her entire world. Where he is the only person who's treated her human at all. We start to see that. And then we do go into, like, kind of fiery bits of scene of war. Again, we're getting a bit of her backstory. It starts to set it up, but episodes can only go so long.
Yeah.
So we kind of end going into her backstory, giving the plot there. And then we go into episode 9. Well, okay. Here's where... Let me double check here. Because I believe we're at a point in episode 8 where she goes to try to physically find Gilbert's remains. Yes, that is what happens.
Yes. Because she cannot...
Yeah, she cannot accept that he is dead without seeing his body. She cannot imagine a life without him. So Lieutenant Hodgins effectively knows where she has run off to. When she has run off, she's having her mental breakdown. Brings her back. And then we transition really nicely into episode 9. That's probably why my notes weren't fully outlined there. Because we transition perfectly into episode 9 of really the concept there is every letter deserves to be delivered. And I'm pretty sure that is the title because I wrote that up right by episode 9. And we go into the question of what is love? What does I love you mean? We really get into that with this episode because Violet is she is dirty and disheveled.
Yes.
Throughout this episode because she tried to dig up through this rubble because she needs to see Major Gilbert's remains. Oh, there we go. See, I needed to read a little bit further. It's episode 8 kind of goes into episode 9 in that. Because it kind of switches between the stories of she's going to try to dig up Gilbert's remains because he's missing in action. She doesn't believe he's dead until she sees his body.
Right.
Violet is admitting to Lieutenant Hodges, you're right, I am burning. I am, like, she's admitting this, and there's a confrontation between Lieutenant Hodges and Catalea where she's like, why would you told Violet that? He's like, I'm not wrong. You were a part of this war too. We all have done terrible things in the name of our nation, like, and for peace and prosperity. That doesn't mean it was right.
Yeah.
Just because we did it towards peace and prosperity. And again, we get into Violet's PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And that she cannot live in a world without Gilbert. Like, it's really difficult for her. She has trouble adjusting to society because she's never been in this type of situation before. She can't really think or do so many, like, very many things for herself. She's just learning how to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, and episode 9 is where, so all of this is happening with Violet. She's going through the ringer. We really felt for Violet.
She's going through it.
She's going through it.
She's having a hard time.
And then in the midst of all of this is when Benedict sprains his ankle because of the high heels that he's wearing.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, he's going down some stairs, sprains his ankle. And this is where we kind of have a whole thing of Violet is working with one of the more kind of tenured workers at this postal office. It's not been open for long, so not really. But he's older, so that's why I'm using that terminology.
Yeah.
Talking about, well, Benedict can't deliver these letters now because sprained his ankle of wearing those shoes. Will you help me deliver the mail? They're trying to kind of distract Violet. Get her away from that. And she starts to heal with the realization too of her emotions are very valid and they deserve to be expressed and experienced. And that's why, again, going back to the title of that episode, every letter deserves to be delivered. It's giving her the realization that she's not wrong for feeling this way, because she obviously feels very uneasy. I almost get a little bit of like, she just doesn't even know what to do with herself. Like, she can't even explain herself, like, how she's fully feeling, how to correspond that. But she's seeing as these letters are being delivered, she's like, okay, well, there is a way to do it, and I'm getting close. Like, I am working at it. And so we set up to that, and really, this all sets up to with our next heavy hitter here, episode 10.
Oh, man.
Because the every letter needs to be delivered. This is where it comes in. Just again, beautiful episode. And again, this is going to be a spoiler one. Because it's so great. Oh, okay. So we have episode 10. We start off, okay, Violet is being hired on for about a week. She needs to go travel out to the location in order to complete this assignment. And she is going to another estate type. Yeah, this is an estate, the Magnolia Estate, where we are introduced to a little girl named Anne and her mother, who live at this estate. We very early find out that the mother's husband and Anne's father has died. He died during the war, died a hero, and it's just been the two of them, and it's evident that the mother is sick. And as Violet is coming into this situation, the mother is actually sitting with some type of neighbor or family friend, some people that are putting their business where it shouldn't be, trying to push that there needs to be something in place for Anne because she can't be in this house alone. So we're building up the story of that. Anne comes to disturb this conversation because there's a doll walking up the road. And this is how, again, like, Violet gets introduced by a lot of these characters. This is how she's introduced, is Anne being like, a doll came walking up the driveway. Like, it was so striking to her. And she's like, something told me that she might be something bad. And so she goes to interrupt this conversation, rightfully so. She kind of did her mom a solid, but her mom is still like, Anne, you have to be a proper lady. Please don't interrupt us and introduce yourself when you come into the room. And she's like, oh, sorry. Mom, there's a doll walking up the drive. Like, there's a doll. And she's like, a doll? And their kind of lady of the house of sort comes up and is like, yes, ma'am, the auto memory doll is coming. And she's like, oh, that doll. Yeah, that is today. Shoos off her guests that are like, well, we need to talk about this. She can't be in the house. And she's like, okay, bye.
Get out.
Yeah, like, I have company. Please leave my house. Just a great setup. It's just like, it does, this whole series does such a beautiful job at, like, creating dynamics so well. And you see that here. And so she comes in, and Violet goes to sit down with the mother. They're going to start these letters. And Anne is kind of frustrated because she's like, well, she's here to write a letter. I could write a letter for you. And her mom's like, well, you don't know all the big words yet. And it's a very important letter. And she's like, well, who's the letter for? And she's like, well, it's for someone very, very far away.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Bro.
I literally wrote instant tears.
No, for real, instant tears. Oh my god.
Do you need to see it? It's there. Maybe
No,
we'll take a picture and post it.
Instant tear.
Instant tears.
God.
So you learn very quick who the letters are for. And it breaks you. When the first time watching it, it was kind of like shortly after this, right before Anne gets confrontational with her mom and gets frustrated.
Well, and it's all from M's point of view, which is an interesting thing for this episode, is most of the time we kind of stick with Violet the entire time. But for this one, we're kind of following the child most of the time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of showing her frustration of this doll came into the house and she's taking my mom away from me. I don't get to spend time with mom.
Yeah.
I want to be with my mom. Why is this person here?
Because she can see that her mom is sick. And part of this, too, is Violet and her mother go to start to write these letters. And her mother has basically a fainting spell of sorts and asks to go lay back down. And she's like, I'm just, Anna's, of course, very concerned. And she's going to kind of console her mom, and she wants to take a nap with her, and her mom's like, well, I thought you were too old for naps. And just, it's so sweet, and she kind of ends it at being like, well, I would rather you go help entertain our guest for a while. And it's just, it's all so cute. And Anne goes up, and she starts to talk to Violet, and just little girl fashion, just being like, my mom's not feeling very well right now, so she's going to be sleeping for a bit. But I'm sure she'll be better soon. And for now, she's asked me to entertain you. Usually I hate guests, but you're a doll, so it's okay.
Which, same though.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I have it written down. I actually hate visitors, but you're a doll, so it's okay. Like, just such a little kid thing. And
No, but I completely agree.
yeah, and it's just so cute. And she's talking about, like, well, we can play house, we'll play with my doll. And she gives Violet to play with the doll to play with, and is trying to play dolls, but Violet doesn't know how to play dolls. She's like, she does the little voice like, oh, hello. And Violet just doesn't know what to do. She's told that she needs to say hello to the doll. And then there's like a fake hello voice and she doesn't know what to do. And she's like, Anna's like, you're supposed to talk to the doll back. And she's like, and Violet's like, oh, I see. And Anne just starts chuckling because she's like, oh yeah, you're a doll. You've never played with a doll before.
Which is so sweet.
It's so sweet and it helps you, like, but then you think of the actual truth.
Of what's happening. It's just like, oh.
And it's so cute. And then their lady of the house comes and tells Violet, okay, your room is ready. So Violet's like, okay, you must excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
We just keep on going through, and we see the progression of their relationship. Anne's definitely getting an attachment to Violet, because Violet is able to go play with her, like play house, play dolls, read books. There's the cutest moment where Violet is reading a book to Anne, and Anne's like, have you ever been told that you are very good at reading stories to people? And it's so heartwarming.
It's just sweet.
It's
clear that Violet has been here a while now. Because she's, I mean, we're getting a lot of days, a lot of nights she's spending with this girl. I mean, clearly this all didn't happen in just a couple days. She's being here for, like, a while.
Yeah, she's here for a full week.
Yeah.
And that becomes a point of contention, because Anne at one point goes to a room at night to just, she's lonely. You can tell that Anne's lonely. And she's talking to Violet, and she's like, so are you going to be writing letters the next day? She's like, yes. And the day after that? Yes. And the day after that? Yes. And it's like, yeah, she's here to do something, but she's also really bonding with Anne. And there's a point where Anne comes into the room as Violet and the mother are talking, and she asks for her ribbon to be put into her hair. And the mother is like, well, not right now, sweetie. And Violet does bring it. She's like, actually, ma'am, if I may have a break, I don't mind doing, like, if I could just ask for a break for now. I think that she would appreciate having the ribbon in her hair right now. Oh. And Violet goes to put the ribbon in Anne's hair, and Anne says, I didn't want you to put the ribbon in my hair. I wanted my mom to put the ribbon in my hair. Violet says, I know. Like, I understand. I know. She's like, and I want my mom to be reading to me. And she's like, I know. I want my mom to play house with me. She says, I know. It's just so hard. It's just... going into the grief, when you have a child that is aware that their parent is dying, that their parent is sick and not getting better, because that becomes a point of contention here. Violet is writing these letters with the mother. There's another fainting spell, and Anne is talking like, enough, this is enough. Like, I know you're not getting better. I know you're sick. I know you're gonna leave me alone. Who are you even writing this letter for anyway? How are they more important than me? And she's like, why won't you spend time with me? No one else even cares about you anyway. And it's just such little kid being frustrated, and she runs out crying. And her mom's just being like, honey, there's nothing more important in this world than you. And Dad's just being a little kid. And she's frustrated, and she just wants to spend time with her mom. She runs out of the room. Violet goes to console her, and just is talking about Anna's, of course, having a breakdown, and she's so sad and mad with herself that she made her mom cry.
There is not a worse feeling than making your mother cry. Oh my god, that is a horrible feeling.
So Anna's she's so mad at herself for making her mom cry. She's so upset with herself. And she's talking about how her mom is sick because she's a bad girl and she's being a bad daughter, and Violet has to keep on consoling her. And it gets to the point where Violet has to be very stern with her and say, it has nothing to do with that. And she makes the comparison, like, nothing can be done. Just as my arms can never be soft again. My arms are gone. They'll never be soft and warm like yours. Nothing can be done about it. And it's just Anne with kid like, she's breaking through a bit, but it's kid logic.
Yeah.
Violet is doing her best, but Anne is still breaking down. At a certain point, she's like hitting Violet because she's mad and telling her, like, no, it's I'm making my mom sick.
Which
Violet
is a
has to
very
shut that
real
down. Yeah.
child psychology like thing to happen. Children really do internalize these things.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever things go wrong in their life, the first thing a child will do is blame themselves. And we don't really know why children do this, but they do. Mom's sick, it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and dad are fighting, it's my fault. People are bullying me, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Great depiction of that here.
Yes, it is a great I guess I'm still a child and haven't grown out of that. I've just been crying, and I still do that to this day. Everything's my fault.
Same though.
But I think that's part of too why this moment just it hits. Oh, it hits. So we have the breakdown, and then we get to the point that Violet is done with her assignment. She's written all the letters. And they're saying goodbye. Anne is very grateful. She's talking about how, like, turns out she wasn't bad. She was really good. Oh, and another thing about this, they serve tea at first, and Anne is, like, shocked that Violet can drink this tea because she thinks she's a doll. And that comes back into play because she goes to give Violet a kiss on the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, it's warm.
And she's shocked.
Yeah, she's shocked. And she's like, so what about the tea? And Violet is like, as I said earlier, eventually it will be expelled from my body and returned to the earth. Like, she's just so literal. It's fantastic. But just talking about, like, she wasn't so bad after all. And then we go into what has Violet been doing. It's obvious she's been writing these letters to Anne.
Future Anne.
For future Anne as her mother. And Violet gets back to the post office. Everyone's so impressed with her. She wrote 50 letters for little Anne Magnolia. And they're talking about, like, they're hyping it because this is a feat.
Mm-hmm.
It's this little girl is going to get a letter every year for 50 years now. She's going to be looking forward to these letters coming in the mail. And every letter is going to be delivered, no matter what. And this is when Violet breaks down. Because to her, it's not a feat. It's, I have been in this house for a week, getting to know this little girl, and her mom's going to die, and she's going to be all alone. And she gets so lonely. And just, it's the most precious moment with the staff, with the post members, because it's like they're, especially Catalina, just it is understanding that this is one of the first times that Violet is showing human emotion towards other people, and it's so beautiful. And then when you think you couldn't have broke down anymore, you get the sequence of Anne getting her letters. Yeah.
Which is beautifully done.
It's so beautifully done.
You know, you see her a little older, and it's the mailman coming by, and she runs up to get her letter. Time passes. She's older now. She has a partner. Time passes. Now she has a kid. Time passes. Now she's older.
Yeah, and of course and then it's just so beautifully written, just being like, Anne, you're 8 years old now. I'm sure you're feeling lost and confused at times and sad, and that's okay. And just again, as she's getting older, being like, I'm sure you still love dancing, but you've maybe graduated from bugs. And just being, and yeah, her being with her partner, and she's like, I'm sure you've chose a wonderful person. Just know no matter what, I will always be watching out. It just, how do you not cry?
How?
How would you not cry? It just, there's no way you don't. Oh. And it's so beautifully done. And thank you again, Kaneki, for going into this exploration of
course.
anime. Because it's something to be talked about. This needs to be more of a wide-ranged conversation and topic with people. This the pinnacle of media and the expression of human emotion in very real situations that are so sad to think about,
But
but they happen. They happen much more often than we think, too. Because if it's not happening directly to us, it doesn't happen.
No, yeah.
We have some little underlying music playing for ourselves, too, and it just ended perfectly there.
It did, yes.
You don't get to hear it, though, because of copyright reasons.
It's just for us.
Just for us.
We're greedy.
Yep. Oh.
Just a moment.
Just a moment. You can't not. You're a monster if you don't cry at it. That's how we really need to be dealing with the whole lizard people conspiracy. Okay, make everyone watch episode 10 of Violet Evergarden. Do they cry?
No? Okay, they're a lizard person.
Yeah, they're not human. This is how we're going to weed out all of the monsters and just, like, extraterrestrial creatures and whatever else might bump in the night. Ugh. And now we get to episode 11, now that we've been through that. I think our ASMR trigger warnings, they might be done, but we never know. So yeah, episode 10 beautifully wraps up. Just like, even if you're just watching that episode or just like presenting it to someone, you can just kind of explain the backstory and then go into there and you'll just ruin someone's day effectively. Not really, because it is a beautiful piece of media. Here's the thing, even people that I would not recommend this type of thing to, I would still recommend to watch certain bits and pieces.
I think episode 10 is a pretty good standalone episode.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a whole lot of plot going on in, like, to the overarching story happen in this episode. I mean, it helps for, like, context and all of that with how Violet's reacting to things. And it's good to know, like, the background. So, like, you could easily show just this episode to somebody, give them a quick rundown of the background of Violet and what's going on, and then watch this episode.
Yeah.
And it would go great. Because, again, it's mostly focused on this little girl's point of view and her story and her mom and all of that.
Yeah. And it's just done so well.
It is.
It's done so well. And you become attached to An pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Love it. I mean, sort of don't. Again, it's sad. It's sad girl thing. We love sad things. We love sad things. We like things that make us cry, that are meant to make us cry. They're formulated to do it, and then it does its job well.
Yes.
We do love that. And then we go into episode 11. We have this emotional banger, and then boom, we go into a civil war is breaking out.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Yes. So, civil war is breaking out. I wrote, boo. We don't. we just gain peace.
Yeah, come on, guys.
I mean, at the same time, we don't know the other side's full story, but it's presented to us in not a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we're at right now. And here's the thing. We're at a time of peace and prosperity. Let's not ruin that.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Yeah. And this is where we get to the whole, like, another little thing here of an important point is that the front lines of these civil wars and, like, certain camps, they need dolls too, but it's too dangerous for the dolls to go out.
Yeah.
So then, who do we have go?
Who else is the most perfect candidate for this?
Against the orders of everyone else, actually. She does this in secret. To go into the front lines. Violet just goes.
Yeah, well, of course. She's Violet.
Yeah, she's Violet. She's like, well, these people need dolls too. They have letters that need to be delivered. It's important that these people are able to write to their loved ones. So Violet makes this her mission now. So as a part of this, they get an inquiry for a doll of the postal company she's working for. Lieutenant Hodgins is like, absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Violet overhears this basically. Tells someone else that she's like, I'm going here now, but doesn't tell Lieutenant Hodgins.
No, because he would try to stop her.
Yep. And so she's just gone. She is gone to assist a Mr. Aiden Field. And this is another pretty emotional
thing.
I think we'll see if it's very tear worthy. It's just we have cried a lot. Yeah. So she goes because this soldier effectively wants to write back to his wife to be and his parents on his status and how much he loves them, all of that. Violet does get there, and what she believes is too late. Unfortunately, and the Civil War is breaking now, and this is a really interesting thing too, because we do see that Violet is actually infamous in this world. Where is, the Battle Doll of Lindenschiftel. This whole country,
right,
place that we're in. Again, the names are wild in a certain way. Or the Soldier Maiden of Lindenschfell. The Maiden Soldier of Lindenschfell. There's like multiple ways that it gets said. She is addressed as this. The opposing side of the Civil War, as she comes in post, they are trying to effectively take over this camp. She comes in and these guys are like, up, step back.
They're like, oh.
Yeah, we do not stand a chance against her. Retreat. They confront her as such too.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we know who you are. Well, we've pretty much killed everyone effectively, so bye now.
Yeah.
But she does make it to be able to assist Mr. Field in getting these letters to his parent and effective wife to be. Yeah, it's just, she's comforting him in his last moments. She is trying to
injured.
assure him that he's not going to die, but she realizes very quick that that's not the approach.
Yeah.
She tries, but it's going to happen. He's gravely injured. He's dying. And again, just the sadness of this too. Just like her comforting of him. It just hits you so hard. She writes these letters to Maria, is the name of the wife to be. It's very much focused on. In fact, Mr. Field has Maria's handkerchief with the monogram of the M on there. And Violet's able to write the letters of just how much he loves them, thanking his parents for being his parents and loving him so much. And she is able to take the handkerchief, Maria's handkerchief, and the letters back to them. And Violet, at this point, she is just, again, she's filling out her orders. She's doing what she's told. She gives the letter, and there's obviously this air of guilt that she has. And she kind of gives the letter. She's going to walk away, and they effectively bring her back in and tell her thank you. And she says, I'm so sorry I couldn't save him. I didn't come in time. And they just keep on reassuring her, no, thank you. I thought I wasn't going to, but yeah.
No,
it's
same.
Just,
Me too.
But it's like she's literally delivering a dead man's final words to his family and his love to be, and she doesn't even realize how important that is because she couldn't save him. And we do start to see that part of that. She has this innate guilt in herself because she couldn't save Major Gilbert, and she is projecting that in this situation as opposed to realizing that you have yet again allowed another person to have their one day, in a sense, because you've brought the last words that they wanted to the people that are most important to them. So yeah, emotional episode. We're getting on to the end, going to episode 12. We're almost there.
Oh, man.
We're almost there. It doesn't get as sad. I think that's our ending point there. We'll see. I've proven myself wrong already. So, Naval Captain Gilbert's older brother, Boldenvea? I believe is their last name. Again, I noticed that it was like kind of different between each
character.
Yeah, each character sounded a
honestly
little different.
I honestly don't know why.
But anyway, I'm gonna call him Naval Captain Major Gilbert's older brother, because that is a bit of the air that I need to be on. A little bit of a comedic relief, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going into war, stuff, and peace now into episode 12. It's like, okay, there is stuff breaking out. There's a civil war. We need to fix this. There is a peace signing ceremony that is going to happen in Garderik. And that's what we're kind of leading up to in episode 12 is there's the civil war going out. There's this peace signing that's going to be happening. There's a convoy. Catalea and Benedict are on the way to this peace ceremony because it's going to be a signing of, again, peace between these countries that let's not do this war and or civil war anymore. But as they're making their way towards it, they're finding out that there are multiple explosions at train stations along the way, effectively trying to stop the signing, like this peace ceremony signing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, Violet kind of gets she of course very much intentionally gets involved. She's post doing the letters for Mr. Field. She's realizing what's happening because she has to air into the area that Mr. Field is and air out.
Yeah.
She sees that there's explosions. She sees that there's trains going. She knows that there's this peace signing ceremony and some of her co-workers are going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And or there are people involved in general. She needs to go assess the situation. So she's not supposed to be there. Violet shows up all of a sudden. And again, chaos is just like happening. There's explosions happening everywhere. Kind of what is being set up is the train that the people of this peace signing ceremony are going on is to be incapacitated with these explosions. There's going to be ambushes that are happening here too. Specifically at the Grand Sedia Bridge.
Right.
And the thing with this bridge is it is needed for transcontinental travel. So if this bridge is taken out, that stops all trade, import, travel, everything.
Yes.
From coming into their country.
It's a very major railway.
Yes. And then this is where we got a lot of action sequence. This is where things get into action. We get out of sad girl and into action. Just like there's the Civil War activists. Let's not quite call them activists, but y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
They board the train. They're effectively trying to have the train kind of explode on this transcontinental bridge. And we get into this battle sequence. Because, of course, Violet is here now. Violet's handling things. There's a bunch of fighting and stuff on top of the train. Naval Captain Major Gilbert's older brother comes in and he gets involved too. And there's guns. There's a point where one of the Civil War people grabs onto her brooch and it gets kind of ripped off and she's like, no, but they get the brooch back.
Yay.
She keeps the brooch.
Yay.
We can't have that. This is going to be kind of, do you have any items in your life where there is such a strong emotional attachment to it that you could not imagine it no longer being in your possession?
Oh, man. I have a lot of stuff. Just got a lot of shit. I have a lot of books for one.
There you go.
Last time I counted, I think I had over 400.
Beautiful. You know what's sad, girl? Owning over 400 books.
Fair. I will accept that.
It's not a criticism, it's a trait.
No. And I also I collect the Sanrio Build-A-Bears. I love those things. I would be so sad if I ever lost any of those.
Yeah. Very fair.
I'm trying to think if there's any one thing that I just absolutely love with all my heart. Oh my god. I don't know why I didn't think of this to begin with. Okay, well, two things.
Okay.
One is this rock.
Nice.
I don't even remember how I got it.
The brooch, the emerald gem, that's a rock. So it's equivalent.
There we go. We're relating here.
Yeah.
It's coincidentally it's a green rock.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you sometime. It's a really cool
Nice.
rock. It's a neat rock. I love this rock.
There you go. It's
like,
your rock.
It like fits so perfectly in your hand. It's like this big. You guys can't see this, but it's like, I don't know, 3 inches across and like 2 inches wide. But it's like a little round ovally.
Yeah.
Not ovular, it's a different thing.
Nope.
Ovally.
It's good words.
Stone, yeah. But it has like a bunch of like little pits all over it. Okay. So it's like textured.
Yes.
But it's also very, very smooth. And it's like a gray color, but all the little pits have like a moss green.
Ooh, that's a cool rock.
I know, right? And I've never found another rock like it before. I've never even seen one on the internet or anything like it before. I don't even remember where I got this freaking rock. I think I pulled it out of a river or something. You know? But I freaking love this rock.
I've love had items this like that.
I've had it since I was like a little kid. I've had it as long as I can remember. I freaking love this rock. Every now and then I'll remember I have this rock and I'll just go and grab it and I'll just like touch it for a minute just because I like this rock. It's just so fun. I would be so sad if I lost that rock. I would be devastated, actually.
That's a good one.
The other one is, it has a little backstory to it. So when I was really little, it was before my sister was born, so I was 3 or younger. I had, you know, every little kid has like a little stuffy or a blankie thing. Okay, I had a stuffed animal. It was a Care Bear. It was one that had the little moon.
Okay.
It's like the Sleepy Time Care Bear.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what they're called, but I love this little thing with all my little heart. And then I remember one day my parents took me out on a bike ride. And I had my own tiny little bike with the little training wheels and everything.
Yes.
And I decided, I want to bring my little Care Bear with me. And so I, like a stupid young 3 or younger child, put the little bear like on the bars underneath me.
Yeah.
And didn't secure it in any way.
Of course not.
In my little head, I was like, I'll just check on it every now and then to make sure it's still there.
You.
It's riding with me.
Yeah.
It'll hang on by itself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. That's good logic.
Yeah, exactly. And then next thing I know, we get home. Little bear's gone.
Yep.
I'm devastated. And my mom says I immediately started accusing her of stealing my bear.
Kid logic.
Kid logic.
Yep.
But she was like offended because she's like, I don't know why you started blaming me and not like your dad. It was only me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. Don't ask me. That's little kid logic.
Little kid logic.
And then for like years, I held on to that. Mom stole my bear from me. She stole it. She didn't like that I had it, and so she stole it. Yeah. And I think it also comes from like when we used to have these 2 little cockatiel birds. My parents like my mom lied to us about like getting rid of them. Like we came up, my dad was like, let's go to Blockbuster. So we come back, everything's gone of these 2 birds that I adored. And I'm like, where'd the birds go? Mom's like, they've flew away. And I'm like, no, you clipped their wings. They can't fly.
She couldn't have at least said they went to a farm.
Right? But anyways, I held on to this like, Mom stole my bear from me.
Well, she did steal your birds in a certain sense. Well, birds are a lot.
Well, the birds, yes. But, like, also, like, my little bear.
Yeah.
And so, like, for years, I remember holding on to this little, like, grudge against my mom, fully believing that she stole my little tiny Care Bear that I adored more than anything. Oh. And then, like, a couple years ago, I opened a gift. I think it was for Christmas. And I see the exact same bear in this little box looking up at me. Oh my gosh, I'm like getting emotional.
I was going to say, I don't know, you're about to tell me an emotional story here.
Of course, I immediately started just like crying. I was so happy to see this little bear. Even I was like, this was just a couple years ago, so I'm like in my 20s. And it's not the same exact bear, like,
But it's the bear.
But it's the bear. And she searched high and low to find the exact same one. Because the Care Bears today look completely different. The eyes are different. The stitching is different. The color is different. But she somehow went and she tracked down the exact same one. Oh my god.
Break our hearts.
I know. See, that's why I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think of this immediately.
No.
It now sits proudly on a little shelf above my bed. So I can see it all the time.
There's your bear.
And my mom, after I opened the present, my mom's like, I promise I didn't take your bear. I would never do that. I promise I didn't do it. And then she was getting emotional. And then I was, oh my gosh. It was a whole moment.
Yeah, but she probably was expecting you to start laughing too, is the thing.
Probably. And then I'm just like crying.
And you cry.
Especially with me not being like a really emotional person. I just started...
Things just hit sometimes.
It does.
That's the thing.
It's just like... And especially something like that, where I've like held on to that like my entire life of this little grudge for no reason. Like, I didn't even believe it anymore once I was older. I mean, I knew logically, little kid me just lost it, you know, but like some little part of me still had that little grudge of like, well, I lost my bear. I loved that thing.
Yeah, it was your bear.
It was my bear. It was my teddy. And then I opened the box and there it is. And I just,
what a moment.
Yeah. So that would be my one item that I would be devastated if I lost that.
So imagine that you're fighting on top of a train.
To bring it back to the show.
And your little bear, like, you have your little bear that you're holding, and then another person took the little bear.
Oh my god.
And the little bear's almost gone. And then, yes, I'm remembering this now. Naval Captain Major Gilbert's older brother.
Right.
Catches the bear, like, midair. In order to bring it back, after you two have also had this conflict where you tell him that you're not going to kill anyone in this mission, and he doesn't believe you. He still sees you as a tool, and that somehow you killed his brother.
Somehow it's your fault.
Yeah, I write here, he needs to unpack his baggage.
No, for real. Come on.
Yeah.
Get some therapy.
He needs to work on that. Which, towards the end of that episode...
Wait, pause.
Pause?
What is your special object?
Oh yeah, my special object.
You can't just skip this.
I'm not going.
After I bear my heart out to you.
Well, and I guess too, like, ironically, but also playing into this, emerald is actually my favorite color. It is also my birthstone.
It's a good color.
Not to give too much information about myself, but a good color. It works really good on me too.
Oh, it's a good color. Yeah.
But with that, it is one of my favorite colors, and it's my favorite gemstone. I don't like to wear a lot of jewelry, but with that, I'm not a diamonds person. I like more pearls, emeralds, sapphires, and other various like colored stones.
Yeah, I think diamonds are great as an accent. Like, as, like, just around a stone or on the side or whatever, but not really as, like, the main piece, you know?
And that falls into... So, while my parents were still together, which their marriage, not good, you have to know when to get a divorce and when things are not good for the people involved around there, too. But anyway, before they got divorced, one of the kind of like few, okay, my parents are together and this isn't a moment of tension, like this is kind of a happy moment. It was my 12th birthday and they went to a pawn shop and they found this beautiful ring. It's white gold. It's definitely like an older looking ring. It's definitely my style. And it's funny because I was much more of an alternative kid. I did have this classical style, but I've really grown into the style too. Very antique, kind of like up towards the stone. The metal almost, it's not a fertile, of course, like that's very difficult to get on there, but it starts to almost do that type of pattern and spreads out, and then it's a oval with a emerald.
Ooh.
And then it has diamond chips around it.
Oh.
So that's an item I always know where that is. I don't wear it very often because I'm not a big jewelry person, and also because it is important.
Oh my gosh, I want to see that.
Oh, I will show it
yes,
to you.
please show me. That sounds beautiful.
I'm going to show, and I'll show you my other one too. Now, this is more on kind of a goofy thing, but similar. So, again, like, if you couldn't tell by how I talked about the whole parent thing, my childhood was a bit complicated. Still a very privileged person. We never went hungry. We always had forms of entertainment. Doesn't necessarily mean that there weren't tough things going on there, though. And just not to fully get into it, but when you have a parent for an alcoholic... I said that wrong. An alcoholic for a parent. Can you tell I'm nervous speaking about this? But just to be honest, my father is a recovering alcoholic. My mother also had a tough childhood being brought up. Same with my father. There's just things on both sides. Violence, messed up things. We all have our own baggage, which is why we go through it talking on podcast about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, but with that, another item that's like one of the few more happy memories, because I don't remember a lot of my childhood. A lot of it's just kind of just not there.
Yeah, yeah.
But another happy memory is making a little coffin with my dad for a project for school.
Oh.
So it's this little coffin. It was for, like, we were studying ancient Egypt. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of... Obviously, they didn't use coffins, but it worked for what we're doing into this. Or I shouldn't say obviously. We've been educated in it. They didn't use coffins. Or, like, caskets.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Like, the type used, it didn't fully work for what I was doing, but I got an A on it.
Right. Oh, goodness.
And, like, had some sort of symbolic symbol. But basically, we made this together. And I use it as a Halloween decoration every year, but I bring it in before, like, the night really falls. Mm-hmm. Because if a teenager were to steal it, I don't know what I would do. And I could easily see, like, someone... that's something that kids do. I'm going to be very frank. I never did it.
Yeah.
My cousin did, though. She would literally just take lawn ornaments out of people's lawn.
Oh, my God. That's insane.
Yeah. I know it's a thing that happens. Especially with, like, very desire. So I bring it in every year. Because I'm like, it's one of the few good memories I have with my father. Not to say that all of them were bad, per se. But again, it's just a lot of my childhood isn't there. It's just gone.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember it. Yeah, but it's a good memory. So if I were to lose that, I would have a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my two items.
They sound like good items.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have an emotional story with mine.
No, I think it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, those are my two items. So yeah, and that just, like, I do like that plays into here of just, even though the physical item, if it were to be lost, it wouldn't mean much, but it would be too much for Violet if this were lost. Like, this is her one thing that is keeping her going, and of course, learning what I love you means. Oh, and then we get into our end episode. We get into, again, just Gilbert's brother needs to undo his package. Like, he needs to handle that. We do start to get into this with episode 13, our final episode of this beautiful, beautiful series. Oh, Violet Evergarden. It just always hits.
It really does. Time. Oh my God.
Yeah. And so with this too, like, we kind of start to end. Like, Violet's like, I'm not going to kill anyone. He needs to, like, unpackage his stuff, and we're still sort of in battle going into the next episode. Mm-hmm. So with this, we see that Violet loses so she can protect Gilbert's older brother, in the sense that she could take out the enemy effectively, But Gilbert's older brother is being shot at, so instead she gets in the way. She gets her arm shot off, basically.
Yeah.
So, as we said, her mechanical's arms,
Mm-hmm.
she gets them shot off. And as we're going further, and it's going to be explained to us further what's really going on here, and we have a lot of mirroring of each other. This happened, her arms get shot off.
Yeah.
They are about to go over the bridge, and there are these bombs going. They need to go take care of these bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Violet starts to go down. She finds the first one. And then this is also when our boy Benedict comes back in.
Mm-hmm.
With his spiky heels. He may have sprained his ankle, but you know what they're really good for? He literally takes his stiletto heel and sees the other bomb, jumps down, crashes it into the other bomb, gets it out.
Yep.
Violet is, as I said, she's one arm, mechanical arm down.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to get the other bomb. But she can't. It's not coming off like it should. She is literally ripping it out.
Mm-hmm.
And her fingers start to break on the joints of her mechanical arms.
She's pulling so hard.
And then she gets the strength. She's almost down, but she snaps back in, grabs it, rips it off effectively. Effectively, her other arm is gone.
Yep. Because
she is pulling so hard that she is tearing her body apart, literally.
Yeah.
Benedict comes in to save. She's falling, and luckily Benedict is able to intersect and save her.
She can't catch herself.
She cannot catch herself,
has no arms.
He catches her, luckily. Benedict is our MVP here.
For real, though.
Yeah. So we got that. And then we get to our peace signing ceremony that happens. We have the word that an air show is going to happen now. And there's this whole excitement. It's like, okay, we averted. No
yay.
bomb. Violet can get new arms because
she has none again.
She's lost
a second
set of arms as we later. But there's this air show happening and talking about how the point of this air show is, of course, morale. Like, airplanes can be used for entertainment now. And there's going to be this big letter releasing of just, you will write a letter in general. It could be to someone else, to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just going to be released out into the world. Type of thing. And we go back into Violet's backstory a bit. And I don't know how much of this you remember, Kaneki, but towards the end, we go back to Violet talking with Major Gilbert. This is pre the battle that he is MIA in.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about the future with Violet. And as we talked about before, she literally can't imagine a world without taking his orders. And she is expressing that to him. She doesn't he's trying to explain post-war.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what we're going to have to think about what we're going to do now. She can't.
It just does not formulate in her mind.
It does not formulate for her. And she sees herself as a tool. And this is when Gilbert snaps at her. And it is so sad to watch. Like, she snaps at her in the way that a parent does, frustrated with their child for doing something. But here's the thing, Violet didn't do anything wrong. And part of it is that Violet basically brings up, it's like, well, if we're post the war and I'm not with you anymore, am I no longer any good to you? And he's frustrated because Violet sees herself as a tool. She sees herself as his tool to be used for war. And it's so frustrating for him. He's like, is that how you see me? Is that how you think I see you?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts yelling at her and being like, if that's really how you feel, then why would I have been doing all of this for you?
Mm-hmm.
And Violet is obviously getting flustered, like there's a bit of tears happening.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just being like, I know that you're capable of emotion. I know you can answer me. And she's like, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to you right now. And then Gilbert breaks down being like, I'm so sorry. Like, I shouldn't treat you like, it's just such emotional turmoil because he's just so fed up. Like, he just wants Violet to be able to experience life as a child and not see herself as a tool. Like, to be able to experience life and appreciate pretty things. I know that's one of the terms that gets used. It just... Ugh. So we see a bit of that, and the fact that that's a bit of the dynamic that happens they're going into this battle. He is MIA post this battle. And being like, okay, we're going to talk about the future later after this battle. We'll no longer be at war. And so all of this happens is being a show to us. And then, as we said, Naval Captain Major Gilbert's older brother really needs to unpack his baggage. And sort of part of this is that Violet, post learning Gilbert is MIA, potentially deceased. Well, again, aka deceased. She hasn't seen it yet, so she doesn't believe it.
Right.
He's still going to visit his grave, pretty much like weekly, in place of Gilbert's mother and brother, or she will run into his older brother at times. And we see a bit of this, and two, Gilbert's older brother makes the decision based off of his mother's expression of wanting this to introduce Violet to her. And so we see this is where we're kind of ending on, and just again these very emotional aspects of grief and loving someone, having mutually loved someone. And so Gilbert's older brother, she gets introduced to Gilbert's mother, and so she's older. It's obviously like she knows what's happening, but at times she might forget about certain things here and there in that regard. And Gilbert's older brother brings her to their mother, and he's like, this is Violet. And she's like, oh yes, the one. He's like, the one that you want to meet. And it's like, oh yes, her. And I can't remember if it's just that she sees the brooch or Violet presents the brooch. It has something to do with like just the mother not like forgetting for a moment that Gilbert is no longer around, and Violet showing the brooch, and then the mother seeing it and saying, that's the color of my son's eyes.
Oh.
And just this touching moment between the two of them, and missing him so much. And yes, there's this grief at their mother. She says, no, my son is alive. And she points to, like, she grabs to her chest. He is alive in here. And it's such a beautiful way to end this, because that really is, we've talked about this before too. Like, I don't necessarily believe in heaven, eternity. I don't want like an immortality post all of that. And this is when I do really love media like this, because truly our loved ones live on through our memories. They live in our hearts. They live in our minds. And here's the thing. The people that we know and love, they can live and die, and we can remember them in our hearts. They can live on in our hearts, and that's enough. That can be enough.
That's very well put.
It's just so touching.
And it's a perfect ending.
Yeah, perfect ending.
Especially with the very first scene being about that brooch. It's the color of your eyes.
The color.
And we come back to, it's the color of my son's eyes.
Nice. Yeah. And then just, again, just the fully understanding concept of, it doesn't matter that he's not here. He is with me. And that is if that culmination is something that you need, if you need the aspect of reuniting with your loved ones, just, I know it's tough and grief is complicated and it's different for other people, but just, you have to remember that the people that we love live in our hearts and our memories. And, you know, especially when you have that, it will hit you at times. Not to get into my own thing right now, but just, you know, like losing a loved one, and you'll have those moments in life where that will happen. It will hit. And right now it's around the holidays, as we said. And on maternal side of my family, my mom has multiple sisters. One of them has since passed, and her daughter, so my cousin, is wanting to throw Christmas at her house, her new house, and she had her new baby, so it's more convenient for them to be there.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
And it's kind of, she's stepping up, sort of taking that role on too from our other aunt of kind of hosting, and also my grandmother hosting and all of that. And you know, it can be a little bit like, there's emotional labor that goes into going out on Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah.
And being around your family. And so my partner and I guess we might as well call him Tombo for, I mean, the sake of the podcast.
Cute.
We might as well call it.
Yeah.
So Tombo and I, we were out at dinner, and kind of like pre-dinner, I was already expressing, and as I expressed earlier too, I've been experiencing where I'm not eating like I should be because I am stressed and depressed about the things happening in the world. And just things around, you know. If I could change my response to these things, I would, but sometimes I just have to live with it.
Yeah.
So we're going out to eat, and we're kind of talking about holidays and some of the things around there. And I'm like, you know, the thing though is, yeah, there is a thing like, okay, going out on Christmas Day, you have to travel, like, be around the family, all that. But I know that my cousin wants her children, and even though I don't have children, I understand that where my cousin is, like, she wants her children to have the experience that we did as kids and cousins, growing up with each other and having those big Christmases.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's also, like, a thing going on there where she especially wants to culminate that because her mom's not around anymore. And it hit me. I almost did break down in the restaurant we were eating, but I had to stop for a moment. And Tom, like, I kind of was holding on to my chest. And Tom was like, are you okay? And I'm like, it's just a moment. Just ignore, let it pass. Just
just ignore me.
Yeah, just move on. Like, almost breaking down. But it is those moments. Those are the important moments. Just, you take the time to think about them and acknowledge the situation that you effectively are in without them around. And that is bringing life back to the people that we love. And just perfect ending. Ending.
Absolutely.
More media like this, please.
Please.
Yes. We have the movies. We'll have to cover them at another time. We're not getting into the movies right now.
No, we've been here.
Yeah, we've been here forever.
All day.
Yeah.
Which I would like to cover the movies at some point, because they are very good as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Talk about emotional. Okay. Well, we'll get into the movies later. Oh my gosh, thank you again, Kaneki. Thank you for crying with me.
Thank you for crying with me.
Yeah. And to anyone who may be listening, thanks for tuning in to Sad Girls in Anime.
And thanks for crying with us.
Yes, literally.
Literally.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
If you haven't already, you can find us on the cutest website, sadgirlsandanime.com. We are on Blue Sky and Instagram as Sad Girls and Anime Podcast. Reddit too. We've really enjoyed interacting with you all there. Sad Girls and Anime Pod. Thanks again for listening and crying with us.